Everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that you have about your health and nutrition goals. So I'm kind of deviating from my normal, talking about the basics and really kind of the overall population and what works best when it comes to health and nutrition. I'm actually going to talk a little bit today about nutrition during pregnancy. I've had 5 children myself, 6 pregnancies, 1 didn't make it. So although it's not probably my expertise, I just want to give you some quick tips and some really great things that I've read from a book called Deep Nutrition. Now that's a book I read a couple years ago. I loved it so much that anytime that I have a client who's thinking about getting pregnant or who is pregnant, I absolutely recommend this book. As a matter of fact, I recommend it for everybody because it really, I don't think that people in general understand the role that nutrition plays in our health and in the future health of our future generations coming up, and what we can do today to really improve our the people that will come after us, our children and our children's children. So if you are pregnant, want to get pregnant, or have a family member that is looking at getting pregnant, this is a great topic to talk about. So, I find it really fascinating, having quite the weird, view of what's going on right now, because we're hearing a lot of interesting science. And I think the thing that really bothers me the most is how there's a really kind of a cognitive dissonance between what really is health. And I've heard people say, well, I'm overweight, but I'm healthy. And while you might be as healthy as possible, obesity and health you can't be obese and healthy at the same time, because when you are carrying that much fat on your body, and again, this isn't from somebody who's just skinny and telling you what to do. This is somebody who's been there. So again, I've really done a lot of research over the years, because I find it very frustrating that we're not taught correctly on how our bodies work and how important of a role nutrition plays, and why the standard American diet these days is so detrimental to not only our health, but the health of our future generations. So, obesity is a symptom of a larger problem. It is the ability of your body to try and tell you that it is trying to survive. Body fat is a survival mechanism, and some, especially on a woman, is super, super important. But when we have enough storage, because our body needs to put it somewhere, because we're either eating more calories than we need, or because we're eating empty calories that really aren't benefiting us nutritionally, then our body has to store it somewhere, and versus allowing it to become toxic within our system. So, it's really hard to help people understand that while you do need to love yourself, it's very important that you respect your body. It does a lot for you. That this whole new weird thought process of that, beauty at any size, yes, beauty, I agree. Like you got me on that one. I agree that beauty of any size, any person, everybody is beautiful in their own way, inside and outside, but not healthy. Like there's just no way that being obese or extremely overweight can be healthy for you, because we're talking inflammation and metabolic diseases that come from that. And of course that plays a huge role in what's happening in the world right now. So, all right, that's my soapbox for the moment. Let's talk about being healthy for being pregnant and having babies, and the prenatal health that's really important to you. So, really, really great book. And I'm sorry, this one doesn't have a dust jacket, because what happens is I get it from the library, I read it, and if I love it, I look for it on eBay, because, if somebody else's book that they don't want anymore becomes part of my shelf. And I love it because I can go back to it and I can notate it and put, notes in it. And it becomes something that I can go back to every time that I want to refer to something that I've read in there. So really great book. Not only does it talk about where our current DNA and our current health and nutrition comes from with our ancestors and the people that came before us, but it also has a lot of information on how our genetics and our DNA were dependent upon what they did, and how what we do today really determines the health and benefit of our upcoming generations after us. So really great book. If you really like to read, it is by Dr. Catherine Shanahan, MD. She is also, I've heard her on podcasts as well. That's how I heard about this book. Really great information. So a couple things that I just want to touch on topic wise. Obviously know that good nutrition is important. I mean, I don't think that anybody can say, well, I eat garbage all day and I'm a healthy person. Like, that is just not going to happen. When food is not really food, your body doesn't know what to do with it. We eat for nutrients, and processed food tends to be void of minerals, vitamins, and nutrients. So it's important that we're eating the things that our body needs. One of the things that I tell people, and they look at me with quite the weird look, is that obese people are malnutrition. And I've had people say, how can that be? They have excess energy stored on their body. The problem is they're getting plenty of calories, they're just not getting any nutrients. And malnutrition means they're not getting the nutrients that are beneficial and necessary for optimal health, and that becomes a problem. I love statistics. For some odd reason, that's something that I really just, because of course it helps me to understand research and data. But one of the things that I've heard is that only 12% of the US population is metabolically healthy. 12%. That means 88% is metabolically unhealthy. So I'm probably gonna say your name wrong. Avi asks, in your opinion, prebiotics versus probiotics. Well, they do different things. So one of them is the bacteria in your gut, which is really important to have a biodiverse gut in there, and one of them feeds the gut. So topic for another time, and I have talked about that in the past, but again, both to a certain degree, because they both do different things within your system. Okay, so back to health and nutrition when it comes to being pregnant. Now, one of the most important things that you have to understand is it's really beneficial to start before you get pregnant, because realize that baby is going to take whatever it needs from you, whether you have enough of it to offer or not. So if you are really low on something, if you tend to be really suffering in loss of a certain vitamin or mineral, and maybe if you just have a little bit, let's just say calcium, your baby needs it, it takes it. It does not care if you have enough to give. It will just take what it needs. So in order for not only to have the most healthy, perfect baby that you can possibly have, you also want to make sure that you come out of the situation as healthy as possible as well. So if you think about the fact that, taking a couple of years even in advance, and we're going to talk about years between siblings as well, you can benefit from eating, storing up enough nutrients within your system so that you don't suffer consequences of not having the vitamins and minerals that you need when the baby takes it. Now, if you don't have enough to begin with and baby needs it, baby's not going to get it because you don't have enough. And you can try to keep up with food. That's very, very difficult to do because, again, your body needs a certain amount at all times. So it makes it very difficult to not only build up what it needs, but keep the level that it needs in order to be optimal. So something to think about. I mean, if you think about, okay, sorry about that. Having some internet connection issues, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but I was on a rant. I was on a good roll. Okay, that was like 2 minutes too, and I tried to switch Wi-Fi routers and everything. Who knows? Technology is so weird. Sometimes it's so beneficial, and other times I want to throw my phone or my computer out the window. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. That is really important to make sure that you are prepared in order to have that baby. So let's talk really quickly a little bit about time between siblings. So obviously when you do have a baby, it does take a lot from you, and you want to make sure that there's a good amount of time between having another baby, if possible, because you have to build those nutrients back up. Now, in the book, her general recommendation was 3 years. And she has a whole chapter on looking at like celebrity siblings and seeing that the first one usually is the best looking. And I know that that's probably not a great term to talk about, but true. Like if you look at, the Hilton sisters, one is a little more symmetrical than the other. They're both beautiful, but one is a little more symmetrical than the other because, of course, the more babies you have, and especially if you have them in rapid succession, a lot of times you're not benefiting from all the nutrients and minerals and things that you need in order to have the most symmetrical, well-made baby. And I know that's kind of weird, but really, you are a baby maker when you get pregnant. And so I don't know about you, but my goal was to have the most perfect little beings possible. I just wanted to make sure they had enough fingers and toes. So when we see babies that are born with issues, there can be multiple problems there. Usually there's some sort of, a lot of times there's a malnutrition, right? If you think about when they talk about some of the different birth defects that they have, it's usually a lack of a certain vitamin. That's why they always talk, folic acid and some other things that you should really be up on before and when you get pregnant. A couple of things, just make sure I'm covering all the things that I was thinking about. Malnutrition causes birth defects. So I mean, just there's certain things that can happen. As you know, we already know the effects of some bad choices during pregnancy. Obviously, from a mother who drinks a lot of alcohol, we have fetal alcohol syndrome. From mothers who smoke, their babies can have a lot of lung issues and growth issues because it stunts the baby's growth. So again, you want to make sure that you're providing everything that baby needs in order to make sure it gets the best choice in life. And if you were listening last week, we talked a little bit about the microbiome and how as the mother, your microbiome will affect that baby and its microbiome and thereby its immune system and various other connections and vital situations in its system. So, because your health, nutrition, and environment affect not only your microbiome, but your baby's growth and microbiome. It's a big deal. And I know, I don't know any mother who says, yeah, I don't care what my baby ends up like. Like, we want our babies to have the best chance at having a good life. So that's really super important. Okay, so let's really quickly, I want to talk about cravings, because a lot of times, those of you that have been pregnant know that you crave some things, some weird things sometimes. I think one time I craved Taco Bell, which now I look back and go, bleh. But I know one time I craved, weird, Jack in the Box tacos, which again, you couldn't make me eat those at this point. I have no idea what in it was making me crave that. But cravings usually for mothers come from a lack of a nutrient. So if you can look, I mean, it's really interesting. Somewhere I read not too long ago about when mothers have cravings for really weird things like dirt and clay. It really comes from something that's in that particular item that the body needs. So just like the rest of us, when we're not pregnant, we tend to like crave chocolate or crave something specific. It's usually because we're missing out on a nutrient that our body needs. So keep that in mind, that, you know, again, making sure that you're getting as many vitamins and minerals, and that's where nutrient dense healthy food comes from. You know, it's okay if once in a while we're eating something that isn't perfect, because none of us are perfect and all of us crave something weird. Mine's chocolate. But predominantly our nutrition and our diet, which is just what we eat, needs to come from good whole foods that are nutrient dense. Okay, so this is not a time to diet. If you are a pregnant mother, you need to make sure, again, that you're building a baby. And just like somebody who's trying to build muscle, who needs a surplus of calories, the right kind of calories, a mother needs to be making sure that she's eating enough, and again, enough of the right things in order for that baby to build the way it's supposed to, grow the way it's supposed to. It's not enough, it's not the right time for a diet, and you need to make sure you're getting enough food so that it can grow. And I mean, if you don't give your body and your baby what it needs, you're going to have a deficit somewhere, and we don't want that. We want you to be as healthy as possible. So, and if you think about it too, what are you building that baby with? If you're building with, you know, just lots of fast food and ice cream and candy bars, it's kind of like, think about putting really crappy gas in your car, and it goes, it can't go because it can't burn efficiently that fuel. It's the same thing with food. Food is information, and if you're putting a lot of garbage in your body, that's what you're building your baby with, and that's not what you want, right? So again, think about, it's not just about you at this point. It is about the life that you're bringing into the world. You know, the other thing is we can actually pass issues on to our children by what we do while we're pregnant with them, just like the fetal alcohol syndrome and smoking and things. We know that those things are detrimental, but even things they're discovering now, infants with insulin resistance. Well, let's talk about that. How do babies get insulin resistance? They haven't been eating a bunch of garbage, but mother has while she was pregnant, and the sugar passes from the mother through the placenta into the growing fetus. So again, the choices you make affect that baby, and you want to give that baby the best chance at life possible. Malnutrition, babies at low birth weight, there's a lot of things that can happen. So just your goal is to give it the best, right? So that's something that's important. Obviously, processed food is not your best bet, full of toxins, additives, preservatives. Again, all those things pass through the placenta, so keep that in mind. Sugar and vegetable oils, some of the worst things that you can eat, period, whether that's affect your life and your body and your health or your baby's. So probably the best option to pick healthier substances and better options for that. So really quickly, I want to talk about how to get back to post-baby body. Now, ladies, anybody who's had babies know that it is never going to quite be the same. Your hips are not ever going to quite be where they were before. Your body has changed. Not only that, your hormones have changed. Weird things happen when you are post-baby. Like, my hair did some weird things, like just, you know, I don't know. But a lot of women think, hey, I should be able to bounce back. And yes and no. You have to give your body a break. It has just spent 9 months building a baby. It's not going to take 3 weeks to get back to pre-baby body. You really have to focus on making sure, especially if you're breastfeeding, which hopefully you are, because there's some huge benefits to that. I'm not shaming, like, things happen, I get it. I've bottle fed babies, but there's just huge benefits to the microbiome when you breastfeed. But you got to make sure that you're providing what it needs. Again, the breast milk needs certain ingredients in order to be the best it can, and so that you can actually have enough lactation to feed that baby. So again, still not a time to go on a diet. It's still a time to really focus on making sure you're eating nutrient-rich foods and providing enough health for enough for health for you and for your baby that you're breastfeeding. So super, super important. It's okay pretty quickly to get back into exercise if that's something that you do. There was years ago when I first became a trainer, I watched this incredible woman. I watched her clear through her pregnancy. She had 2 or 3 little boys at the same time, and she ran, lifted weights, clear up until the day she had that baby, and she was right back in the gym about a week later. Now, she was prepared for that. It wasn't like she went from doing nothing to the gym, and I don't recommend you start a hardcore workout when you get pregnant, but because she was already doing that and she didn't have any high-risk issues, she just right back into her regular lifestyle, which was absolutely incredible. Now, realize when you exercise, it does change the flavor of your breast milk a little bit, so keep that in mind. Baby might be like, nah, I don't like that. But in general, not a bad thing. But don't overdo it. Remember that your body has to recover. Part of the process of health isn't just the work, the hard work, the breaking it down, the cardio. It's allowing your body to recover from those hard workouts and the things that you do in order to be the best body that it can. So we don't want to overtrain, whether that's before, during, or after baby. That's important as well. So really quickly, I also want to talk about the importance of the growth of your child, your baby, once it's born. Very important to remember that how you feed your child will also determine how that baby progresses when it comes to height, being well nutritioned. When you go to the doctor and he measures and weighs your baby and tells you your baby is at the 35th percentile, whatever that is, that's according to the rest of the babies born at the time. Just keep in mind, you really want the best for your baby. So make sure that be careful of the sugars and the things that come in some of the foods. I used to think it was okay to feed my babies, when they were toddlers, French fries all the time from McDonald's. Yeah, I kind of kick myself for some of those. But again, I didn't know any better. Nobody taught me these things. I've had to educate myself over the years. So it's important for their growth and their future, even their brain health. It really is determined by what you do before, during, and after pregnancy. Those things really are important. And I know they're important to you as well. So you guys, I get my very best ideas from you. Thanks for tuning in. I love the questions. They're great. I just had one earlier about probiotics versus prebiotics, which I've talked about before, but I can definitely talk about another time. But I hope you are all doing well and are healthy and happy. This really is about the best for all of us, each of us, and being kind and helping each other. And so that's really what this is about. I'm hoping that we can all come back to some sort of a good, incredible country that we live in. I miss it. So have an incredible night, you guys. There will be Meals with Melissa this Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, if you have any questions or have a great recipe that you'd love to share that's nice and healthy, pass it on, because we love that part of it. Have an incredible night, you guys. Stay healthy, my friends.